The debate over whether to pay college athletes or not has been a hot topic recently. The issue is still looming around today and is very controversial. I believe that not paying these athletes is unfair and ridiculous. My main three areas of concern are issues that need to be addressed. First, college institutions make an enormous amount of revenue off of their student athletes at the athlete's expense. Second, the student athletes are put under many restrictions and devote lots of their time to their sport, thus preventing them from participating in non athletic activities. Third, I believe that paying these athletes would keep them above the poverty line and would encourage them to stay in school for all 4 years and would keep them from receiving improper benefits. The amount of money that top tier college athletic departments bring in is astonishing and is on the rise. Without the help of the student athletes, none of this could be possible for the departments. According to money.cnn.com, the profit for the 68 college football teams that played in the six major conferences in the 2010-2011 season went up 11% from the last year. At the same time, the richest college football programs in the country made more than $1 billion in profits for the first time in history. While the football and basketball programs at universities are known to be the real heavyweights in doing so, all sports play their role. Every aspect of business and intercollegiate athletics is making money except for the players. People tune in every weekend to watch their favorite team and players compete against each other, which leads to the second example of how players make their schools money through the media market. All the well-known television networks compete to be able to broadcast major college events. CBS/Turner Sports made a deal worth $10.8 billion with the NCAA for March Madness for the years of 2011 to 2024, according to ESPN.com. March Madness is the playoff system in college basketball that draws viewers from across the country, which means TV networks are willing to pay $11 billion for 3 weekends of television per year. Yet another staggering example is that ESPN agreed to a new 4-year deal where they will pay the BCS, the Bowl Championship Series, a selection committee that picks the national championship matchup for college football, $500 million to broadcast the games. This is also according to ESPN.com. The BCS would then give the universities involved a large amount of money for playing in those said games. Some of you may be thinking, what about their athletic scholarships? Your concern is that you feel student athletes are already being well compensated enough if they accept scholarships that provide tuition, books, meals, housing, and sometimes graduate assistantships. Also, according to thesportsdigest.com, at some universities, the total scholarship value for a student athlete may reach a value of $200,000 over a 4-year period. However, it has also been estimated that the average fair market value of top-tier college football and men's basketball players is over $100,000 each. And that is only the average student athlete. Some of the stars are worth up to $1 million, according to SunTimes.com. Even though scholarships provide helpful benefits and pay for almost all the college expenses, there should be some array of cash payment made to the athletes if they are worth so much money alone. A sports management professor, Ellen J. Startsky, calculated in a report that if college sports shared their revenues the way pro sports do, the average football subdivision player would be worth $121,000 per year, while the average basketball player at that level would be worth $265,000 a year. The workload required to be a student athlete can be very tiresome. Between the practices and attending classes, it is hard for a student athlete to find free time during the day to relax or have a social life with students outside of their team. The players are also strongly encouraged to stick around campus during the summer to participate in optional team workouts and take classes so they would be able to graduate quicker. On top of that, their coaches and teachers are always monitoring them. Add the pressure felt to perform well by the fans and fellow classmates, and a student-athlete's college life can be very stressful at times. In fact, if a player is not performing up to the level that the coaches would like to see or expect to see, they can pull their scholarship away to give it to a more deserving athlete. Essentially, a scholarship is like a 1-year contract that the coaches decide whether or not to renew it at the end of the year based on performance or attitude. When this happens to a student athlete, they are left in the dust by the program and are free to leave the university. So a good comparison would be the athletic duties of a student athlete to a job held by the average person, both requiring you to do your best work every day or face the consequences of being let go, but there is one major difference. The student athletes are not being paid, whereas the average American with a job gets paid for doing what is required of him or her. Coaches around the country take measures to inform their players about the NCAA rules and improper benefits, but it does not seem to affect them. Unknowingly and knowingly, student athletes have violated NCAA rules for years. Some players just cannot take the financial pressures and others just blatantly ignore them. Whether it is accepting money from university boosters or exchanging gear for discounts, these problems need to be stopped quickly. It is ruining the atmosphere of college sports and dirtying the image of all universities involved. For example, former University of Southern California receiver R.J. Soward confirmed that he accepted improper benefits from a former sports agent. His reasoning was that his scholarship did not provide enough money for rent or food, and this is according to assets.usw.org. If the student athletes received payments on a scheduled pattern, it would lessen the burden on the players, thus possibly lowering the amount of rule violations across the country. In the article, The Price of Poverty in Big-Time College Sports, it shows how a student athlete that could be worth as much as 6 figures is living under the poverty line. This is because of the cost that his or her scholarship doesn't cover. FBS full scholarship athletes earn less than the federal poverty line by $1,874 on campus and $1,794 off campus. This is according to assets.usw.org. Some student athletes already come from unprivileged families and cannot afford to pay the dues that do not fall under the full scholarship category. The NCAA has been taking advantage of student athletes for too long. Student athletes deserve to be paid. College institutions bring in revenue off of them while they are put under unjust restrictions and dedicate everything they have to their sport, thus preventing them from participating in non-athletic activities. Also, paying the athletes would certainly help keep them above the poverty line and would encourage them to stray away from improper benefits and graduate from school instead of leaving early. The players have become employees of the universities and conferences as much as students. Employees with no compensation, which not only violates common decency but perhaps even the law. And we as Americans should not stand for this indecency. Our voices need to be heard, and we need to support this movement as much as possible.